Well, hello and welcome back to the Brand Authority Show. I'm Rebecca Radice and I am joined by Diana Adams, as always. Diana, looking beautiful.
Thank you. You too, Rebecca.
I am here in Southern California where it's nice and sunny. We're actually in the 80s. It's kind of crazy, not feeling too much like Christmas. Diana, you're in Atlanta. I know you got some snow. How's it going over there?
I think we got about 6 inches of snow. And I was thinking, in the past 20 years that I've lived in Atlanta, I think that's only happened maybe 3 times. So
wow,
we're all very excited here.
Yeah. Well, I have absolutely nothing to complain about. I have seen what's going on the East Coast. So
right, yeah. And of course the kids love it because one snowflake and counties for hours away, all school is closed, everything shuts down.
Well, there you go.
Even the McDonald's and the Starbucks were closed, and we were giggling at that. Everything shuts down here. It's like life stops when there's a snowflake.
Yeah, it's kind of like rain here, right? Because we hardly ever get it, and the sky is falling.
Exactly. You're like, what's going on?
Oh, well, we have a fun topic today that's going to really help you get focused on what matters most to your business in 2018. So our topic for today is 8 questions every entrepreneur must answer to succeed in 2018. And I think they might kind of surprise you. I don't know about you, Diana, but
they were a little bit different. And when I was reading the questions you suggested, I was thinking, wow, these really hit home for me that being an entrepreneur, you are accountable to yourself and how you answer each one of these questions, because, we fool ourselves all the time, with what we're doing and make excuses for ourselves. But these really make you look inside about why you're doing what you're doing and what your processes are. Excellent stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great way to lead us into that first question, which is, should I be more productive and efficient than I am? And I'm going to let you talk about that, because we talk so often about the difference between productivity and just being busy, running around.
It's a big difference, isn't it? And for anybody who didn't see my interview with you, when was that? I think it was last month. I interviewed you specifically on the topic of productivity because you're such a master of that. And I would recommend that you watch that interview, because it's really eye-opening, because there's people who talk about being productive, and then there's like really being productive. There's like a couple of different levels there. And it's so easy to get caught up in those daily things. And I know we're going to talk more about that in a minute when we talk about important versus urgent tasks. But there's always room for improvement for all of us. And this is a big area that I think everybody can really look at their productivity and find ways to improve.
Yeah, my motto has always been that mess in our lives equals stress.
Yes, I heard that somewhere else. Yeah.
Yes. I've always likened it to, you remember Pigpen, and he always had, that dust swirling around him. And that is that image that it always conjures up for me. So as you're looking to really assess, could you be more productive in 2018? I want you to take a look at your daily processes, because it all begins with how you start your day. So if you are rolling out of bed and you're checking your notifications and you are governed by those things that are screaming at you, well, that's going to set the tone for your day. So you really need to pay attention to, are you waking up with intention? Do you have an action plan that you've actually laid out with what you want to accomplish for that day? And then are you focusing on your highest and best? So what are those 3 things that are going to increase your sales? What are those 3 things that are going to propel your business forward? Right. And I think too often, Diana, to your point, we can easily tell ourselves that story that, oh, I'm busy, I'm talking to people, I'm going here, I'm doing these meetings. And when we really take a good hard look and we're honest with ourselves, are we just creating that busyness to keep ourselves from doing those tough things, those hard things, those uncomfortable things like picking up the phone, those things we don't want to do?
Absolutely. And you can tell if you're kind of where you are on the spectrum from, are you waking up and are you proactive with your day, or are you reactive? Because I recently switched phones. And when you switch phones, the default is that your notifications are on, right? So for like 3 or 4 days before I finally went into them all and changed, turned notifications off, it was like no joke. Every 45 seconds, my phone was beeping, and I was thinking, some people live with this every day. How do they do that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that is obviously one area to get under control is turn off those notifications and use a calendar system where you go in and you choose your time when you're responding to email. You choose your time when you are checking those notifications, going on to social media, and you're doing all of this with a plan in place as opposed to haphazard, which I think happens far too often, where we have an idea, a dream of what we want to achieve, but we haven't clearly outlined what that looks like and put that roadmap in place so we know exactly how we're going to get there. And that's really the difference between productivity, being efficient with your time, and really guarding your time, because after all, that's all we have.
Right.
Yeah, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And when you start to look at some people and you go, how the heck did they get all of that done? It's really this. It's that they guard their time.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So number 2, second question you got to ask yourself and answer is, that's number 1. Sorry. Let's move on to number 2. Do I have a clear vision of my company value, my product, and my service?
Right. That clarity is critical, isn't it? Because it really governs what you're doing, right? If you understand what your product is, what your service is, who your ideal client is, it will help guide you along the way. And it will really help you figure out which one of those tasks are important, which ones aren't so important. Maybe you thought it was, and then you realize this doesn't have anything to do with what I'm doing. You know what I mean? That feeling. I've been there so many times. And this is a time of year every year when I really take a step back, get centered, and get clarity all over again, even after being an entrepreneur for so many years. Get clarity on what am I doing? What's going on?
And it's so important to bookend your year, because how you started and what was working for you and in your business at the beginning of 2017 doesn't mean it's still serving you at the end of 2017. So there's a huge benefit in sitting down and really looking at what was the vision of my company in early 2017, and what is it today, and then am I clearly articulating that? Because you look around at the amount of information we are inundated with every single day, and there was a survey out there, I can't remember off the top of my head who did it, but according to this survey, 90% of all purchasing decisions are done unconsciously.
Really?
Pretty crazy, right? And so you start to think about that. And if you're not sharing your value, if you are not putting it out there every single day, building credibility around that result that you create for your audience, well, you can be sure your competition is. And this is, that point to me is just, it screams at me that if you don't start to create that differentiation in the mind of your audience, you are quickly going to see yourself start to lose ground within your market. And this is where a lot of people wonder, why is nobody buying? Why is nobody purchasing that latest product? Or why is nobody coming to me for, coaching or whatever my service-based business is? And oftentimes it's because you've just forgotten what your value is, what your purpose is, what your reason is behind your business. So yeah, really good time to take stock and answer that question. Do I have a clear vision? Because it all begins and ends with your vision. And then if you have a team, you really have to make sure that your team is aligned with that vision, that it hasn't somewhere along the line gotten derailed, and that one person's vision is very different than somebody else's, because that's there again where it becomes very, very muddy.
Right. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope for sure, unfortunately. And I see too many people, decline into that. And then they get to the situation where they haven't paid attention for so long. It's hard. It's hard to come back. It's hard to regain that momentum that you had when you first started.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So number 3 is, have I broken down my sales and marketing objectives with a roadmap to achieve those goals? So yet again, super important after you've got that clarity, after you know what you should be doing, what your vision is, and where you want to be. It's what we were just talking about, getting this into a roadmap and a plan.
Exactly. And this one reminds me of a conversation I had with somebody recently. She said to me, I'm going to sell $25,000 on eBay in 2018. And I said, really? What are you going to sell? And she said, I don't know. I haven't thought about that. And I thought, okay. You need a roadmap.
Right.
So and I know that's kind of a silly example, but the point is that you break down your whatever goals you're wanting to achieve, your revenue goals or sales leads, whatever it might be. You want to break that down into manageable chunks. So you take your goals, break it down into a monthly goal, into a weekly goal, and even into a daily goal. And we talked about a roadmap last week. Our whole event was event was on marketing roadmap. So go back and listen to that one. It was so good. But just break those goals down into manageable chunks, because if you do that, then you'll start to be able to put the pieces together to be able to figure out how you can actually achieve them, instead of just hoping I'm going to find something to make $25,000 on eBay in 2018.
Yeah. A wish and a dream is not going to get you to where you want to be. And I always love reflection questions, especially at this time of the year, and looking back over 2017 and really being honest with yourself about how happy are you with your results? Did you bring in the amount of new customers that you wanted, or did you hit your revenue goals, or did you even know what your revenue goals were? So it's so important that you do exactly what you were talking about, where think about it from that end result. You've already created that success that you want to see by the end of 2018. So let's just say your revenue goal is 200,000 and you've decided that's what you want to make. That is your goal for 2018. Now you got to back yourself into that.
Right.
So how many customers do you need? But more than that, how many people are you going to have to talk to every single day based off of your conversion rate to get those people into your product, into your service? So you really have to, this goes back to what we've talked about so much too, is tracking your own data, knowing where are those entry points into your business, and are they all telling that same story about what the results are that you create for your customers? And then is that telling the right story? Because you really need to look at those conversion rates. Is it moving people from that entry point into that first call with you, or into an opt-in of some sort that lets them get to know you and your methodology and your processes a little bit better? So you really have to look at it from every aspect. But as you start to think big and really build out your goals, back yourself into it. I think that's where a lot of people get all tied up in knots over the numbers, and it doesn't have difficult. It can be that easy.
It can be that easy. And a lot of times when you start tracking your data, like what you were just saying, it really does just come down to a numbers game. And I don't mean that in a callous way, but it's data. I remember when I first started my business years and years ago, I didn't know anity. I didn't have one single client. And I knew that if I tracked the data,
that there was any point you didn't know anybody.
Well, that was before Twitter.
Okay. I was going to say, I feel as if you're everywhere and know everybody.
But I remember back then, it was all on pen and paper. I knew that I had to contact 50 companies to find 10 that would be really good potential customers. Out of those 10, I knew 1 to 3 would become a client. And for every 25 clients, I knew one of those 25 would likely be a long-term client. Mm-hmm. So that meant every single day I had to contact 50 companies in order to find that group of 10. So if a day went by, and of course, that's a lot of people to expect to talk to every day. And right. But back then, we did everything on the phone. I'm really aging myself here, but sure, it would take 4 or 5 hours of my time. But after doing that for a year, 2 years, 3 years, everything from that point kind of blossomed. So right. You can break it down to numbers. You really can.
Yeah. And you do have to keep it manageable. Know your limitations, understand your bandwidth, and don't set yourself up for failure. Obviously, you want to think big. You want to create goals that really make you stretch yourself, excite and inspire you. And you're right. Reaching 50 people like that today, very different than having
very different.
As we called it, dial for dollars.
Back in the old days, right? It's so much easier these days. You send people to your landing page and offer them something good, and boom. We didn't have that back then. But that's not the point. The point is that you can break it down into a numbers amount for you for a daily. This is what I absolutely have to do Monday through Friday every week. This, and if you stick to that and do it, your result will be this. And when you think of it that way, it's not that difficult.
Well, and let's face it, as entrepreneurs, most of us are that type A personality. We're overachievers. We're always looking to go above and beyond. And it becomes that challenge to yourself when you've got those goals that every day you're in them. Every day you know what needs to happen in order to achieve them. And it gives you that motivation on those days where it is frustrating and maybe everything isn't working the way you had hoped it would, but it keeps you striving. It keeps you pushing towards what you know is that eventual end goal for yourself. So there's just so much value in that. Plus, it just clears away all the cobwebs in your head of what am I trying to achieve here? And then how am I getting there? I have no idea because I've never sat down and really thought that through. So I think the greatest gift you can give yourself going into the new year is that clarity. Not only that clarity of purpose, but clarity of what you want to achieve and strategically aligning those two so that you know exactly how you're going to get there. Really good stuff. All right. So next up is right in line with all of this, which is my budget up to date and realistic based on current and projected revenue and expenses? So just like your goals, you've got to track everything that's coming in and out of your business. And I know this is something you are very detailed, very thorough about.
I've learned the hard way. I've learned the hard way from getting burned by not keeping up with it. Because not only do you find out 6 months later you've been paying for something in your marketing stack that you haven't used in 2 years, and you've been wasting all your money. Or another example, if you live in the US, you find out you're paying thousands more in taxes because you didn't do the end of the year cleanup that you should have done. So I could talk about this one particular area for an hour because it's so important. Not only do you want to keep up with this every single month when that bank statement comes in, just stop, take 30 minutes and reconcile it. Look at every single entry. And also too, if you haven't looked at your year-to-date numbers for 2017, look at those now before the end of the year and do an audit on yourself. It's just so important to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you had so many great points in there. First of all, if you're new in business, make sure you're actually doing business as a business. I know you might feel like you're an entrepreneur and a lone wolf and you're out there doing your own thing, but make sure that you have set up your organization. So an LLC, a corporation, whatever that looks like, and then everything needs to run through that company. Right. And also your company account. So to your point, Diana, it becomes very easy to track all of your expenses. So a good thing to do this time of the year is to sit down and go through. If you've got them spread out and all over the place, it's going to take a little bit longer, but you need to do a full brain dump of everything that you're paying out and assess. Is this something I still need within my business? Is this something that I'm still using? And this is a good thing to go through. We go through it every single month. We are tracking in a spreadsheet, every single expense, every single thing that comes in and out, so that there's no surprises. There's what was that charge? Where did that come from?
Right, and you'll see stuff on there you don't even realize that you're doing. That's just wasting money. Do I really need to be spending $40 a week at Starbucks and charging it to my business? Probably not.
What else could I be doing with that money?
Exactly. So it'll just, again, be accountable to yourself and really take that responsibility, because nobody else is going to do it for you, right? So you've really got to take that bull by the horns.
Yeah. Well, and I think numbers in and of themselves can feel daunting and overwhelming. So that's why I say start simple. You don't have to do, a big Excel spreadsheet right out of the gate. Put together a Word doc or put it in Evernote, wherever it is going to help you the most, just to consolidate everything, keep track of it. I just happen to have a phenomenal CPA that I've worked with for 20 years that trained me really well right out of the gate. And you also need that. You need your partners that are helping you work through these details so that you're paying those taxes on a quarterly basis and you're not getting caught, at the end of the year with this huge expense. Yeah. So you need that right person, and it is that best investment you can
really
is. Into your business. And I say it's a partnership because it is in every sense of the word. Nancy has been in the thick and the thin and the ups and the downs and knows more about my life than
Isn't that sweet though, to have such a valuable person right there that's looking out for you? And if you do want to use a software to keep up with it, I use QuickBooks. I love it. You don't have to get the fancy version, because the fancy version does payroll and all the stuff you probably don't need. You just buy the basic version of QuickBooks. You can set up your company. You can set up your expenses, what your income, what you want to call it. Mine is listed as consulting income, and then I've got another line item for parts and, different things. And you can keep it all separated so easily. Or if you don't want to get a software like that, just do what Rebecca said and just set it up in Excel or Google Sheets or whatever. But the point is, you should really know every penny of what's going in, what's going out, and if it's important. Yeah, all of that.
Yeah, and I cannot begin to tell you how many people that we have worked with in the past that when we start to uncover this aspect of their business, it's no wonder there's so much stress. And it comes from that mess that is all sitting right up here, that you've held on to everything in your head, but you don't really have a good handle on it. You don't really understand what's going out, what's coming in. You haven't created a system where you can track all of that, but you also haven't created consistencies. So your brain is constantly at work trying to grab onto something, trying to remember something, trying to be that to-do list.
It's stressful to even hear you say it. It's like the inside of your head is itchy and you can't
scratch that itch, right? Yeah. All right. So next up is, did I push myself in 2017, or were there areas where I coasted? And this is kind of a tough one. This is one that you could go, ouch, because we'd love to believe that we're always pushing ourselves. But in those moments of reflection, when you are thinking back on 2017, did you do absolutely everything you could do to create success, not only within your business, but for your customers, for your clients? Did you love all over them? Did you,
I love that.
Did you share everything you possibly could? Were you there when they needed you? Were you responsive? Were you interactive? There's just so many different aspects of this, depending on your business.
Right.
That you can really take a good hard look at and figure out, how can I shore that up? How can I do better? How can I improve within my own processes? And I know that you and I have discussed this one at length over the years, because it's just so important to both of us, that customer experience that we're providing, that feeling and that emotion that they're taking away once, we've interacted with them, even if it's just one phone call and we realize, this isn't the right fit, but they're able to take that feeling of, oh my gosh, Diana would go above and beyond for me no matter what.
Yeah. I go out of my way to make sure people know that, because it's very important to me that people know that. And when you can really optimize your customer experience process, which we talked about last week, it's really a way to differentiate yourself, because if you're like me, you know that customer service these days in a lot of industries is not very good. So it's really a way that you can set yourself apart from your competition too.
Yeah, absolutely. That customer experience. And I think for so many years, the idea was go broad, go wide, cast that wider net to capture as much attention as possible. And I really call BS on that, because to me, it's about speaking with that audience of one, understanding that person, that perfect customer so deeply, so intimately, that it's easy for you to speak their language and really be able to make that connection. And when you take a good hard look at why you do what you do, are you still as excited and as enthusiastic about why you get up every single day and why you get out there and talk to all these people we were just talking about? If you felt like your momentum has slowed down, if you felt like you're less than enthusiastic, it's a good chance that you didn't push yourself, because you lost sight over a couple of things. You lost sight on your purpose. You lost sight on what customer experience was you were trying to create. You lost sight in what your value is that you actually bring to the world. So I think there's a lot of reflection that really does go into all of these questions we're talking about here today, because your business is so much more than just the dollars and cents. And certainly,
of course. And just something real quick, just to add to something you said. You were talking about that momentum. For me, when I talk to somebody who becomes a new client, that is typically 30, 60, 90 days after I originally talked to them. So if you're noticing that your momentum is dipping, it could be because 30, 60, 90 days ago, you weren't pushing yourself, if that makes sense. So,
of course.
Yeah. So if you flip that around, when you get really, really busy, keep up with those daily important tasks. Otherwise, if you fall down on those, your momentum will dip again in 30, 60, 90 days, right? So
Yep.
Does that make sense? It's kind of hard to explain how that sales cycle works, but that's why it's so important to be consistent, because you might be really busy right now and being busy in a productive way, but if you're not keeping up with capturing those leads, following up, meeting new people, talking about your business, you could notice it hit you down the road. That makes sense.
It makes complete sense. In fact, this is something, Michael Gerber talks a lot about in the E-Myth and the E-Myth Revisited, which I highly suggest to any entrepreneur if you have not read that. And it's the difference between working in your business and working on your business, and really creating that distinction between those two. And it for me,
Right.
it's always been the difference between slaving away within your business, and then allowing your business to work for you. And that's what you're talking about, where there is that natural ebb and flow. But too often what we do is we're working in our business, working, and we're forgetting about everything else that needs to happen to
Right.
keep our business chugging along. So
that's a really good way to put it. Yes.
Yeah. So that's where you see those peaks and valleys where,
Right.
woo, fantastic month, and then you just crash and burn. And that's where the processes and the systems come into place to really keep you in that flow all the time.
Right.
So you're not feeling that, wait a second, what happened?
What happened? Right. Because on top of that, you're going to be dealing with attrition, right? Clients moving away, clients, this or that, whatever. So you're going to be dealing with attrition also. So you've got to keep putting in people in the funnel at the top. So you've always got a bunch down here at the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. It's constantly moving people into that top of the funnel, so that, yes, as things change in people's lives, as you lose those clients, and that can happen anytime.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily mean because you've done anything. It's just, that's life. People will ebb and flow in and out of your life.
Yeah, it's insulating yourself from those situations so that they don't come as a surprise, and you're not back on your heels wondering, holy crap, what am I going to do now?
Right.
Yeah. I love Alberto is so ahead of the game. Alberto says, I started my plan for 2018 in October, content planning goals, November and December, and a lot of content creation. So congratulations, Alberto. That is awesome.
That is amazing.
It's a huge undertaking.
Huge undertaking. And I always say, when somebody asks me about starting a blog, I always say, make sure you've got a handful of blog posts already written, already ready to go before you even launch. So you're not stuck with that feeling, like, oh my God. You've got like a little backlog until you get used to it. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, so question number 7, am I spending a great amount of time on the 3 things that are the most important? And we touched on this at the very beginning.
Yes.
But yes, again, too often we are running around saying, but I've got to do this and this and this and this and this. And we're keeping ourselves very busy, very busy. We're always answering that question. People are saying, Diana, how are you? Oh my gosh, I'm so busy. And you're living in that constant state of rush, instead of allowing yourself to take a deep breath, slow down, and really think about, what are those top 3 things? If you just focused on 3 things every single day, what would that mean to your business?
Now, this one, Rebecca, I think is tough, because you and I have talked about this before. It took me a while to wrap my brain around the difference between important and urgent. And so, for example, you might think it's important to make sure you're responding on Twitter. Is that really important? Or is it urgent that you've got a bunch of tweets sitting in there? You might think it's important to, you know what I mean? Like, you really have to become crystal clear about what is important and what's urgent. Because if you think your urgent tasks are important, those are the days where at the end of the day, you say, what did I even do today? What did I even get done? And I would recommend Getting Things Done. Isn't that the book we read that has all of that broken down? I think
David
it is.
Allen.
Yeah. Okay.
Like my productivity Bible.
Yes, yes. Because
Yeah.
it's not common sense to know. Oh, I've gotten tripped up on it so many times, you know. Oh, this
Yeah.
is urgent. This blog post is urgent, but I'm thinking, oh
Right.
no, it's important. I need to get this done. Well, that's true, but is it taking time away from those three most important things?
Yeah. Well, and it's really understanding what those important things are within your
Right.
business. And for most entrepreneurs, they're all the same. It's networking. So getting out there, building your tribe, connecting with customers, driving leads to your business on a consistent basis. Through that conversation, it's attracting new clients. It's getting out there again, having those conversations, and then it's business growth, what we just
Right.
talked about, not having those peaks and valleys. So it's really understanding what are those important things, and then chunking those down, like Diana was talking about, into your action steps. So what do you need to do every single day to achieve that desired result? So
Right.
if your goal, you need to talk to 3 new clients, potential clients, every single day to achieve your desired result. Well, how are you going to
Right.
do that? How are you going to get there? How are you
Right.
going to find those people? How are you going to connect with them?
How
So
are you
it's,
going to follow up with them? How are you
Mhm.
going to stay in touch with them?
Yeah.
Oh, there's just a million things there that are critical for business growth.
Yeah. Well, and it's staying focused, and that's the other area where as entrepreneurs, a lot of times we have that shiny object syndrome where it's ding 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 ding, what's happening over here? What's happening over here? And we get lost in those notifications or those feel good, little that light bulb that goes off in our head. I think every single time a notification goes off, because it makes us feel all warm and fuzzy inside, instead of, as I said, being very, very strategic. And I know that can be hard for a lot of entrepreneurs too. In fact, I think you and I had this conversation many, many times as we talked through that urgent versus important, which was a lot of times the process required to succeed can be a little boring for an entrepreneur, right?
Oh, that is too funny. But yes, it can be boring, it can be lonely, and it
Yes.
can be uncomfortable. And that's
Oh,
why
yeah.
entrepreneurship is not for the weak. It is not for everyone.
Not for the faint of heart, for sure.
It really isn't, because but you have a dream, and you know why you're an entrepreneur, and you know why you're excited about it, and you know that you are willing to do what other people are not willing to do, so that you can live a life that other people may not be able to have. And so you are going to push through and make it happen. And so you'll push through the lonely times, or the calling those leads. It's very uncomfortable, and you gotta, if I have to, even to this day, if I have to follow up with somebody I met and she is sharp, right, and I'm like, and she's the CMO of an organization, I'm just like, okay, Diana, take a deep breath and do it, because you have to be willing to do those things. See, most people won't do those things. That's why everybody's not an entrepreneur, right?
That is exactly right. That is exactly why most people don't do what you do. You being that entrepreneur, and it can be. And I said, boring, because so often we like new, we like the difference in what goes on within our day, but it's committing to those, that highest and best, as I talked about, that makes all the difference. That's where you see your income start to skyrocket. That's where you see a huge shift in your productivity. And you and I, as you mentioned, had that fantastic Facebook Live about productivity and what it is that you've got to do every single day, every single week, every single month.
Good. Yes, I learned so much from that.
There are so many things that I'm like, oh, kill me now. It is not my favorite thing to do.
And you know what? You can outsource those things if you want to. If it's something that you hate, like we were talking about reconciling bank statements. If you hate going through there, check, marking them off, your QuickBooks, your bank statement. If you hate that, then outsource it.
Yeah.
Just outsource it. Pay somebody else to do it.
Yep. Renee says she's going to be taking notes when she listens to this again. Thanks for covering the cringeworthy topics that we need to hear.
Oh, you're so sweet, Renee.
As my business coach used to say to me, it's always shining that light of truth on us as entrepreneurs. And I always liken it to kind of turning that mirror of truth around, where it's not something we always want to hear and we don't always want to face, but we have to face if we want to improve our results next week, next month, next year. And I am not that kind of person that thinks, oh, wow, it's a whole new year. I'm just going to wait until January 1st and then I'm going to kick all this off. No, do it now. Make these changes now. Get a jump start on your competition that's going to be sitting around through all of January trying to figure out what they're doing with your business.
Exactly. That way you can just you'll already be settled into your new action plan.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. So finally, number 8, what changes must I make to meet my 2018 goals? And this can be a pretty deep question because I want you to really think not only what changes do I need to make, but what do I need to become? What do I need to do more of? What do I need to do less of? What do I need to let go of? This could be people. This could be systems. This could be processes. This could be a variety of things, but it's such a great time to really take a good hard look at what has served you in your business, what hasn't, and what's it time to let go of, or maybe make a big change. It doesn't even have to be a big change. It could be a small change that, you just need to tweak and you've sat on it for a little while and you need to make that decision, but you haven't wanted to. Now is a great time. Just rip that Band-Aid off.
Exactly. And like you said, this goes for everything from processes to people, because maybe you've let an energy vampire into your life. And they're sucking your energy, calling you every day, dumping on you, blah, 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 blah.
That could be a client that you've allowed. That
is toxic to your business as an entrepreneur. I had a business coach one time when I first started. She was an incredible mentor. And she used to say to me, I think I've said this to you before, Rebecca, run from negative people like you are running from a burning building. Yes. So you want to look at everything in your life and how can you make this an easy road for yourself, easier than what it already is for you, for what you've done. Get rid of toxic people, get rid of processes that don't work, stop paying for tools you're not using, just really become mean and lean with your business. And and that can make a big difference.
It can only happen when you truly understand what's going on in your business. And I think too often as entrepreneurs, we put those blinders on. It's that hear no evil, see no evil. If I don't know what's going on, it's not really happening. And you don't have to face it. You don't have to fix it.
Because you're accountable to yourself. So you can ignore it. You can ignore it if you want to.
Absolutely.
It's completely your decision.
You can also choose to be mediocre for the rest of your life. Live in that safe space where nothing bad's going to happen because you are not allowing yourself for, to move into that exponential growth. And you just said it so perfectly in how uncomfortable it can be to be an entrepreneur, in the sense that if we're comfortable, are we too complacent? Are we sitting still? Are we not moving forward? Are we not making a difference? And so again, I think this is all tied up into asking those tough questions of yourself as you move into 2018. And are there some big changes that need to happen? Or are there some truths that you're not telling yourself that are going to make a big difference in your business? And we've talked so much about being accountable to yourself, but I think there's also that huge responsibility we have to not only ourselves, but our customers and our families and everybody that's impacted by our decisions. And for me, it's always putting those people in place. You're one of them that I hold myself accountable to, that we have those coaches, those mentors, those dear friends that aren't afraid to call us out, to hold us to that truth, or to hold us accountable to those goals that we put in place. And I think so often too, those are the people that are saying, hang on a second. Now, Rebecca, you said you were going to do this. Well, you kind of got there, but was there a little bit more that you could have done that would have made a huge difference? And so they're those people that are going to be honest with you, even when you don't really want to hear it.
Exactly. And I'm so glad you brought that up. And I'm so grateful to you. Let me say thank you to you for such a wonderful year. Another year that we've got to, I always say we do life together.
Yes, we
because
do.
we go through these things together and learn together. And that is, it's kind of like having our own little personal mastermind group, isn't it? A little bit.
Really is.
And those people in your life, we talked about the toxic people, getting rid of them, but you want to embrace and just really be grateful for those that are supportive and that want to see you succeed and that push you to the next level.
Yeah. Well, and that goes both ways. I don't know that there's a day that goes by that I don't tell you, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for you.
I know, you're so
probably
sweet.
sick of hearing it, but I think there's something to be said for that too. And think about who those people are that are constantly supporting you, but you haven't been as intentional as you possibly could be in surrounding yourself with those types of people, those people that are a positive influence, that push you, that inspire you to do more, to be more, to grow in specific areas. And so often it's those people that have already accomplished what you're looking to do. But as entrepreneurs, we shy away from that. We're like, oh, but they're going to think I'm stupid, or I should already know that. And
no,
you need
to know those people. Hey, my grandmother used to always say, never take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with.
That is great advice.
Think about that. Like people ask financial advice from, people who don't know anything about money. Well, why would you do that? Take advice from somebody who you would trade places with. Same goes for entrepreneurship. Same goes for, whatever it may be. So I always remember that. Yeah.
I think that's such great advice. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. You can find these people. A lot of times, people say to me, but Rebecca, I don't know who those people are that are actual experts, that are actually walking the talk, that are actually doing what they say that they're doing. And it will become very easy for you to get clarity around that as you do a little bit more research, start to peel back the layers within their business. And are they out there talking about how they help people, who they help? Are they crystal clear on everything we just talked about here today? Who their audience is, who that ideal customer is, what that result is? And then are they living that? Are they an embodiment of that within their business? I think that is a critical aspect.
Yes, absolutely agree with you.
Yeah. All right. So let's recap real quick on our 8 questions every entrepreneur must answer to succeed in 2018. So number 1 was, could I be more productive and efficient than I am? Diana, number 2.
Do I have a clear vision of my company, value, product, and service?
And then number 3, have I broken down my sales and marketing objectives with a roadmap to achieve those goals? And this is like number 1 with a bullet, I would say, to think about before the end of the year. And then number 4?
Am I acquiring the amount of new customers or users that my goal require? So again, breaking it down, using your own data to break down those numbers. So if I do XYZ, I'm going to have XYZ. Yeah.
Yeah. Creating that outcome.
Yeah.
And then number 5 is my budget up to date and realistic based on current and projected revenue and expenses.
One of the boring ones. That was one of the boring ones you said. Did I push myself in 2017, or were there areas where I coasted? Ouch! That's the owie bird. Shots fired.
Exactly.
Shots fired.
Number 7 was, am I spending a great amount of time on the 3 things that are the most important? Not 10, not 20, not that whole huge pile.
Right.
Yeah,
Pick
that you've got on your to-do list.
Make sure you do them every day. Yes.
All right. And finally,
what changes must I make to meet my 2018 goals? We can all make changes. We can all improve. Great time of year to reflect, as you said. And thank you to everybody for being here. I know Mordecai, I see you here. Thank you. I know it's the first day of Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Wearing my necklace, Mordecai. Happy Hanukkah. And for everybody, thank you so much, as always, for coming.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We will see you right back here on the Brand Authority Show next week. It's every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure get that into your calendar. We have some really, really, really exciting news for you next week. We have some really exciting challenges that we're going to take you through for 2018. So we're kind of leading you in with all of these tough questions. So we would love to hear back from you on these questions. If you reflect throughout the week, please tag us. You can come right back here to this post and tag us, or you can always find both Diana and myself on Twitter at Adams Consulting and at Rebecca Radiz. So make sure you're connected with us. Make sure we're having a conversation wherever you are spending your time. But as always, make sure you're back here next Tuesday for our next conversation. All right.
See you then. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.
Bye, Rebecca.